I'll try that again. Unmuted, shall I? Hello, and welcome to Curious Casefiles. I'm Lisa.
I'm Jamie.
And Danielle has apparently been abducted by aliens.
Even though she's now saying she's in the car, but she may have missing
She means
time.
UFO. She means UFO.
Yeah, UFO-shaped car.
Yeah. She's been abducted, so unfortunately you're going to have to put up with us two this week because Danielle is otherwise engaged with a probe. So I hear.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
that's too much information.
Well, I could have went into more detail, but I didn't. I'll just try what I type. I've done it again every time. I'll just try and say what I typed into
Yeah, even though you can't say it.
I can't say it either, but I failed typing it in the chat because I was doing umpteen different things. Thank you very much for tuning in. And first of all, I'd like to apologise for being missing last week. It was all my fault. I was feeling a little bit under the weather.
Indeed.
So yeah, we missed a week. But we're back with part 3 of the UFO timeline, which I keep saying it's only one more part, and there might be 2.
There might be 2.
There's so much information. I'll try my best. But if this doesn't fit into 3, there might be another one. But we'll let you decide. If we don't fit it all in, do you want us to do UFOs again the next time, or take a little break and do a true crime? Because I've got one of them lined up for you as well. So let us know in the comments if you want more UFOs next week or crime.
Yeah. I think the trouble is we thought we were going to wrap it up this time, but
I thought I was going to do it in one episode, and then I was like, no.
We've still got
2. We could do it in 2, and then it was like, yeah, it's going to be 3. Definitely going to be 3. And here we are on 3, and it might be 4.
It's a bit like the money pit. 2 weeks to finish the house, and another 2 weeks, another day, another 2 weeks.
There's so much though. There's so much, and we're on 1964. We're going to begin in 1964. We finished off last time with Betty and Barney Hill, and if you've not seen the previous 2 episodes, the links are in the description to episode 7, which is part 1, and episode 8, which is part 2 of the UFO chronology. And this is part 3. You can watch part 3 first. It doesn't really matter, but it's nice to have it all in order. And Bob straight in. Yes, UFOs. You would just have UFOs every week, but obviously we're going to run out at some point.
Maybe. Well, it's a big topic, isn't it? That's bigger than what you think, because at the top of the list, because the main sort of stories is, like we said, you didn't want to do some of the main one, what everyone knows and what's been talked about all the while.
Well, we mentioned it, but there's no point in diving into things like Roswell, because it's been like beating a dead horse, isn't it? Everybody knows. Yeah. If you didn't know, where you been? So, we're going to begin on April the 24th, 1964, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, on April the 24th, 1964, in Socorro, New Mexico, which is near Roswell, New Mexico police officer Lonnie Zamora, you might have heard of this one, began chasing a teenager who was speeding through town. Naughty. Very naughty. Lonnie chased the teen into the desert where he saw a strange object surrounded by small, human-like figures.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them may or may not have been Danielle.
No, because she's not... How rude.
Well, they might have took her back in time.
Whatever. You dug yourself a hole.
Oh, shut up, Jamie. Anyway, according to Lonnie, not Danielle, according to Lonnie, there were red markings on the hull, a vertical arrow with a horizontal line beneath it, and a crescent-shaped line above it.
Right.
Interesting. Lonnie then tried to radio police HQ, but he was not able to break through the heavy static. And we hear this quite often with these cases, that it's interfered with the radios in cars or the transmission, whatever.
Electrics, time.
Quite a common theme that goes throughout quite a lot of these stories. After hearing 2 metallic sounds, which he described as it was like doors clanging shut. Right. He said that he noticed that the small figures were gone. He didn't actually see them go into the object, but he just assumed that they had.
I don't know. See, I do believe this story. I don't know what it is, but with doors clanging, that sounds a bit, these aliens with advanced technology with little clanging doors, little clanging doors.
Maybe they slammed
it. Perhaps they got no lubricant spray.
Oh God! Somebody's seen us slamming doors shut.
Yeah.
So he claimed that flames then shot from the bottom of the craft. It floated up, that's it floating up, about 20 feet, and then flew away to the west. When Sam Chavez and a friend and fellow police officer arrived, he realised that Lonnie was excited and concerned at the same time. Sam noticed that there were several deep landing-type marks on the ground. Sam believed him, knowing that Lonnie was credible and did not make stories up. So you always hear that it's like bumpkins and country hicks and whatever, but police officer. And here is a little picture of Lonnie Zamora.
Yeah.
He looks very credible, doesn't he? He's got a hat on. Yeah.
Well, again, they say it's never reported by policemen and pilots and things like that. And there we are. Exactly again, policemen. Yeah. Off just to think that he was going to stop a speeding motorist. And next minute he's seeing a funny little craft with little tiny men slamming doors. So, your luck.
There you go. US Army officials from the nearby White Sands Missile Range sent Captain Richard Holder to investigate the sighting. Holder also noticed the strange marks in the ground and also noticed a bush burned to a crisp, but only on the one side. Holder found no evidence that his UFO sighting was a hoax, and he felt it was genuine. State Trooper Ted Jordan was taking pictures of the scene when Air Force officials confiscated his camera. How rude. What authority have they got to do that?
Yeah. If there was nothing to see.
If there's nothing there, what authority have they got to confiscate your camera? Anyway, Another witness, still unidentified, pulled into a nearby gas station later that day. He told a gas station employee that he and his family had seen a UFO similar to the one that Lonnie had described. The object apparently flew over their car, travelling at least 150 miles per hour, according to them. The case was investigated by the Air Force, who brought in Dr. J. Allen Hynek, a respected astronomer and a consultant on Project Blue Book, which we discussed last week. Hynek found that, not last week, because I was ill, the week before. Last episode, then. Yeah. Hynek himself stated that the story that Blue Book cooked up about it, being military craft, was untrue, but it was invented to stop Congress from hassling the Air Force about it. Lonnie believed what he had seen was not from this earth, and his UFO sighting has never been explained. So there you go. Military
aircraft with little tiny people slamming doors. I don't think so. And then another time they'll deny that they're testing these sort of objects. So what is it?
Yeah, and
where is it, guys?
I do apologise for the terrible quality of this.
That is terrible. It looks like a Game Boy graphics, like the old black
quality of this picture that I'm going to put on the screen, but it's the only one that I could find. So I was looking for a newspaper report, and there you go. Yeah. It's a bit pixelated, but yeah. Flying object visits region, and that's all I could read. I can't read anything else. No. It's a mess.
Yeah.
So there we go. That is the story of Lonnie Zamora in New Mexico. And we're going to go on now to the 4th of June, 1965. And this is during Gemini 4. An astronaut this time. Not a little crazy hick. An astronaut, James McDivitt, spotted an object in near-Earth orbit. He said back in 1975, at the time I saw it, I said there was something out in front of me or outside the spacecraft that I couldn't identify, and I've never been able to identify it, and I don't think anybody ever will. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We were in drifting flight, and my partner, Ed White, was asleep. I couldn't see anything out in front of me except just the black sky. And it was rotating around. I noticed something out in front that was a white cylindrical shape with a white pole sticking out of one corner. It looked like a beer can with a smooth pencil sticking out. That's a very bizarre. I mean, I'm sure he could have thought of something a bit more technical.
A smooth pencil.
Yeah. A qualified astronaut. It was a beer can with a pencil sticking out of it.
I reckon he had a pencil behind his ear and a little can of
beer.
Out. What did it look like? This. Yeah, that looked like that.
So apparently, then grabbed his camera and took 2 photos of the object, but he claims, and the military claims, that these photos never turned out. I don't ever believe that, though. I'm very sceptical, very sceptical. But apparently it didn't turn out, which is very convenient. Because I really want to see the beer can with the pencil sticking out of it.
Be like Button Moon. Well, you don't even know. If you're from the UK, you know what Button Moon is with a little bean can spaceship.
Just to prove that I can find good quality pictures, here's a picture of them. That's James McDivitt on the left and Ed White, who was sleeping for the entire beer can incident.
Which one was the sleeping one? He was sleeping on the job.
Yeah. He's not going to stay awake for like 24 hours a day.
Well, that's always nighttime up in space. You're probably bound to get confused.
So yeah, astronaut. We've got a police officer and an astronaut so far. And you have to excuse me taking drinks, got a very dry throat. Right. September the 3rd, 1965. So, on September 3rd, 1965, at approximately 2 a.m. this time, 18-year-old Norman Muscarello was hitchhiking to his home in Exeter along New Hampshire Route 150. You shouldn't be hitchhiking. We'll find out why if I do this true crime story.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to be hitchhiking.
Yeah, the next true crime story, you should not be hitchhiking. I know they've done it a lot in the 70s, but no. No. Anyway, so the teenager had graduated from high school 3 months earlier and was 3 weeks away from leaving for service in the United States Navy. After reaching Kensington, a few miles outside of Exeter, Muscarello noticed 5 flashing bright red lights in the distance, which he initially thought might be the lights of a police car or a fire engine. As he drew nearer to the lights, he saw they were hovering in the air just above the trees and illuminated a nearby field and 2 houses in brilliant red light. One house belonged to the Dining family, who were not home at the time, and the other belonged to a family named Russell. This gets interesting. Anyway, he estimated the object to be 80 or 90 feet in diameter. He became terrified as the object, which made absolutely no sound and began to move steadily towards him. Panicking, he dived into the ditch beside the road. The lights changed direction and hovered over the Dining farmhouse. Muscarello ran to the Russells' house, pounded on the door and yelled for help, but no one answered. The Russells later stated that they heard him at the door, but were too frightened to open it. Obviously, 2 o'clock in the morning, if you're hearing somebody like panicking, screaming and shouting at your door, I wouldn't open it. Would you open it?
I don't know. I mean,
I'm saying I wouldn't open it, but I actually did open it once. I did open it once. Yeah. I did. 1 o'clock in the morning, I opened it. I wish I hadn't, but I did. Yeah. Another story for another time. Anyway, the object then moved away and disappeared into the nearby woods. Seeing the headlights of an approaching car, Muscarello ran into the road and forced it to stop. The couple in the car drove the frightened youth to the Exeter police station. At the police station, Muscarello, pale and visibly shaken, told his story to Officer Reginald Tolland, who worked the night desk. Tolland knew the boy and was struck by his obvious fear and genuinely agitated state. Tolland then radioed police officer Eugene Bertrand Jr. I don't know why they bother with a junior, because nobody knows who his dad is. I don't know who his dad is. Anyway, who earlier in the evening had passed a distressed woman sitting on her car on NH 108. Is that a road? Is that an American road? NH 108?
I guess.
Does NH stand for New Hampshire? I don't know. I'm British.
Probably.
When Bertrand stopped to ask if she had a problem, Danielle, we need Danielle to tell me what the American things are. Danielle, I know you're in the chat from your spaceship. Does that mean New Hampshire?
In your spaceship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The woman told him that a huge object with flashing red lights had followed her car from Epping, 12 miles away, and hovered over the car before flying away. Bertrand considered her to be a cook. Cook. That's such a weird word, isn't it? Cook. You're a cook. Cook. But did stay with her for approximately 15 minutes until she calmed down and was ready to resume her drive. After arriving at the police station and hearing the boy's story, Bertrand decided to drive back to the Dining farm with the witness to investigate the field where he had seen the lights. The witness being the 18-year-old hitchhiker, which you shouldn't be hitchhiking. And we've got a picture for this. Slightly better quality than the newspaper one and slightly worse quality than the astronaut one. And here it is. This is Norman Muscarello.
They all seem too happy to see that guy.
Yeah, that's him on the
Do you think they ever taken it as a joke? Or?
Probably. With patrolman David Hunt and Eugene Bertrand and the dispatcher, who's called Scratch Toland.
Scratch?
He looks very cheery in the middle, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Very cheery little fella. Yeah. And there's more. I'll have a drink first, though. You might have noticed that I'm doing all the reading because Jamie's still got a sore throat. Apparently, allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Bertrand drove Muscarello back to the area of the sighting. From Bertrand's patrol car, at first they saw nothing unusual. However, when they left the car and walked into the field towards the woods where Muscarello had first seen the lights, some horses in a nearby corral began kicking the fence and sides of a barn, making loud, frightened noises. Dogs in the area also began barking and howling. Bertrand and Muscarello then saw an object slowly rise from the trees beyond the corral. Yeah. Bertrand described the UFO as this huge dark object as big as a barn over there with flashing red lights on it. So now the policeman's seen it as well, everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
The object moved silently towards them, swaying back and forth. Instinctively remembering his police training, Bertrand dropped to one knee, drew his revolver, and pointed at the object.
Basically, he shit himself and had to duck over.
He didn't remember his police training. He shit himself. But he then decided that wouldn't be wise. That's a good choice. Well done, because I wouldn't have done it either. So he reholstered his revolver, grabbed Muscarello, and they both ran back to the patrol car. Bertrand radioed another extra policeman, David Hunt, for assistance, and while the two waited in the car for Hunt to arrive, they continued to observe the object. According to UFO historian Jerome Clark, Bertrand and Muscarello observed the object as it hovered 100 feet away and at 100 feet altitude. It rocked back and forth. The pulsating red lights flashed in rapid sequence, first from right to left and then from left to right. Each cycle consuming no more than 2 seconds. I knew I could get that out. The local animals continued to act agitated. I should go.
Well, especially the cows. Because
we
know what
happens to the cows.
Yeah.
The object was still there when Hunt arrived, and he also watched it. The object finally rose over the trees and disappeared. So that's another police officer arrived and seen it as well. So
it's racking up.
It's racking up, everybody. Everybody's seen it. Hunt soon heard the engines of a B-47 bomber as it flew overhead, and later told journalist John G. Fuller that you could tell the difference between the UFO and the bomber. There was no comparison.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that they see these military planes just after, as if the military's maybe chasing them.
Yeah.
All three men drove back to the Exeter police station and immediately filed separate reports on what they had seen. Bertrand then drove Muscarello home and told his mother about the incident. The Air Force's explanation was that the witnesses had seen nothing more than the stars and the planets.
Right, okay.
Which the witnesses were obviously disgusted by. So two trained police officers, an 18-year-old, quite intelligent kid who was going to join the military, a woman in her car, had all mistaken the stars for a UFO with red lights hovering over their car and flying about the place. And yeah.
Yeah, but what I must say is the next picture is amazing, even though it's quite bad as well. But look at that.
Yeah. There's a map, a hand-drawn map. It's like a treasure map. There's no treasure.
It looked like what somebody have on their fridge or their grandchildren's drawing.
It's like a treasure map, but there's no treasure at the end. And here it is, just so you know what Jamie's laughing at. This is a hand-drawn map of the Exeter incident sightings from the Project Blue Book archives.
Isn't that them who did it? You drew it.
I don't know. It just said it was a hand-drawn map. It must have been one of the policemen, or maybe the kid. I don't know.
Look at the police car. Look at the wheels.
Police car? Where's the? Oh yeah, I see it. It's in the middle. Look at the police car. I didn't even see that. That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm just wondering what all these. We've got trees at the top.
We've got a spring in the middle.
We've got a giant spring, is it, or a hurricane?
Yeah. Bubbles.
Bubbles. Yeah, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. This picture has just made it all click into place. It's amazing.
I love a police car. Look.
Yeah, the police car in the middle there, that's floating over the road, is amazing.
It's
even got the little police light on the top. It's amazing.
Yeah, the wheels are not even on the road; they're in the road.
Maybe they just cemented it and it's sunk.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that one, everybody. And we're now going to go to France. Can you speak French, Jamie?
No. I can barely speak English.
True story. True story. It's a hedge. Your dad says it's a hedge.
It's a hedge. Yeah, right.
I think you're lying.
So he's used to these technical drawings. He likes making little notes.
He does like making little pictures and drawings. He probably drew it.
He probably drew it. He's there.
So July the 1st, 1965. French farmer Maurice Massey, I think that's how you say it, and I don't particularly care at this stage, witnessed a spherical vehicle in his lavender field. He noticed and approached two individuals that he observed near the vehicle, but after one pointed a tube in his direction, a tube, this is his words, he stood still feeling paralysed, so they pointed a tube at him and he couldn't move.
Pringles.
It wasn't a tube of Pringles.
Even the alien was pointing.
It was not a tube of Pringles, Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Anyway, so he's paralysed because they're pointing the tube at him. He described the beings as child-sized, pale, large-headed, with only holes where a mouth should be. And a mouth a hole anyway, though.
Yeah. But I guess so. But I think, maybe just like
that's a really random, like only holes where like
no lips.
No lips.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't know how to interpret that.
Yeah.
It had a hole in its face, basically. Massey said that after they left in their vehicle, he was never again able to grow a healthy plant in the area where the craft had landed.
Well, that's a bit of a bugger then, because he had lavender fields. I guess
they've ruined his lavender.
It's ruined his livelihood.
Yeah. He did not personally comment on the effect this had on him, saying, "One always says too much." His wife reported that the man was plagued with exhaustion for months, that he had confessed some type of communication to her, and that it was a spiritual experience for her husband. So his wife saying that there was some sort of communication between the aliens with the tube and her husband, but he wouldn't talk about it.
It might be a test tube.
That one always says too much. I mean, as you get from like hearing more of these as we go on, and maybe even some of the previous ones, people are scared to say anything, even though they wholly believe that it was something otherworldly. Some people take it as spiritual, some people take it as extraterrestrial, but they think that people's just going to brand them as crazy, so they keep their mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
That's sad, really. It's sad. There's so many people who've probably seen things or experienced things and don't say a word.
That's why people only talk about it today, because the military and the government decide to say, yes, there is such thing, but we don't know what they are. And then all of a sudden, like other things, people are like, oh, yes, that's okay. They are real. Even though for years they've been told by them to make fun of it. That's what they've done. But yeah.
So
it's all right. They had his livelihood in. Oh God, they probably did.
Yeah, I'm not going to even read that.
Yeah, I just did.
Yeah, you read some of it, but don't continue because Jamie's dad's been vile in the chat. That was July the 1st, 1965. Again in France in September 1965 at the harbour at Fort de France at 9:15 p.m. Several hundred witnesses saw a ball or a disc of light in the sky. It moved slowly from west to east and then looped around, leaving a glowing trail. This sighting bears striking similarities to the sighting by Maurice Massey on July the 1st, and that's like really close to the area.
And were they seeing planets and stars again?
Oh, probably, according to the government. Yeah. And that's in the wrong place. Or I'm missing a page. I'm missing a page! I'm going to have to just remember. Right, we're in Kecksburg. Jamie Kecksburg. I've deleted the page. And it's the first page. Right, in Kecksburg, there was a UFO. And what's the date? Oh, here's my first page.
Well,
it said 1965, everybody, but I've lost the first page. Right. Kecksburg, UFO. I'm going to have to look it up for you. I'm sorry. Because I've deleted the first page of my script.
The bell. Yeah, the bell.
Didn't give spoilers, Robert. Let me talk while I look.
Yeah, I know basically this story. What it is, he can probably tell you, but...
December the 9th, 1965.
Indeed.
Right. The Kecksburg UFO incident occurred on December the 9th, 1965 in Pennsylvania when a fireball was reported by citizens of 6 US states and Canada over Detroit, Michigan and Windsor, Ontario. Astronomers said it was likely to have been a meteor burning up in the atmosphere. Of course they did. But there is a lot to the Kecksburg case. Like, so much. I could go on about this for the rest of the episode, but I won't, or it'll be like, we're going to 5 and it'll be ridiculous. So we've got this unidentified flying object falls near Kecksburg, and that's one of the reports. Another one, unidentified flying object report touches off probe near Kecksburg. So this happened in 1965, as I said, and I had wrote a really lovely introduction all about it, and I've lost that. I've lost it. Excuse me for 1 second while I be quietly annoyed. Did you just do that?
Oh, I did, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, stop it.
Yeah. I was trying to look for it, that's why.
No, that's the second page.
Right.
Right. The official explanation for Kecksburg is that I've got the second page. I ain't got the first page. The official explanation is that this was just a meteor. However, witness Bill Bulbush, that's a really amazing name, claims he saw the object turn around in the sky just like it was controlled before crashing into the woods. So several people saw it crash into the woods. It was a meteor, and there's a lot of weirdness around this. Yes. Intrigued, he drove out to investigate and found a 10-foot long acorn-shaped object smouldering in the woods. Meteor, though. The way it glowed, cracked, and sparked scared him. He says he didn't get too close to the object, and when he heard people coming, he ran home. He was terrified.
There was loads of traffic all pulling up and taking, looking at it and stuff. And
yeah, several people saw it. James Romansky saw it too. He's another one.
Did he?
According to his account, he was part of a group of volunteer firefighters who came upon the object in the woods when they were responding to what they thought was a plane crash, because of all the witness reports that something had crashed in the woods near Kecksburg. Instead, he found a mysterious metal object buried in the ground and covered in hieroglyphics. He claims he was then ordered to leave by mysterious men in trench coats. And that he later saw the military carry the object away on a flatbed truck.
That was it, yeah.
The flatbed truck carrying a mysterious object was later seen leaving the area by a number of other witnesses. Obviously, it was covered, but they were wondering what was on the truck. It had something on it. Additionally, Michael Rambacher, a security officer for the Air Force, claimed to have guarded the object, which arrived on a flatbed truck, which he believed was not of this world. Now, interestingly, for this case, in 2003, a lawsuit was filed against NASA to release the documents from the military investigation at Kecksburg. And when this happened, a NASA spokesperson told the Associated Press that it was in fact a Russian satellite that was discovered at the site. So from it being a meteor, it's now become a Russian satellite, just like what happened with Roswell. It was a weather balloon, and then it was a top secret spy balloon.
Well, they couldn't exactly say it was planets and stars this time. So yeah. This possibility, however, of being a Russian spycraft had been conclusively ruled out at the time when it happened by studying the orbit analysis of all known man-made crafts by NASA's own scientists way back at the time when it happened. But in 2003, they contradicted themselves and claimed it was Russian satellite. Yeah, well, of course, first of all, blame Russia. Second of all, it's like they'd have known about it before and stuff. And why hide it up like that? If it was just all it was.
This is actually in Kecksburg. This thing on the pole here is their interpretation of what it looked like. And the second picture is what the unsolved mystery, showed it in a, what's it called, a graphic representation of what it looked like. However,
and there was symbols at the bottom, weren't there?
There was symbols at the bottom. However, and Jamie's dad gave a little bit of a spoiler in the chat because he knows all about this. Look at this, everybody. De Glock, the Nazi bell, and the Kecksburg acorn. Look at the similarities. If you don't know what De Glock is, we're going to now tell you. Or Jamie is, because Jamie knows more than me. Go.
Yeah, well, the clock or the bell is, Dad would say, was apparently what they were working on during the sort of World War, because obviously wanted to be superior in technology, and they actually had like a structure, like this concrete structure, where people have found what they believe that was what was housed with a bell, because they reckon that was chained up as it was trying to the anti-gravity sort of technology and things like that. Now there is a speculation that it may have had time travel capabilities, which means, as we know, some of these people during the war, I wouldn't say the word too many times.
Yeah, don't say that.
They disappeared, and we sort of suspecting that they may have disappeared and reappeared through time. We don't know. It's always a possibility. So that's one of the theories, that some of the Germans made their escape through time in their bell and turned up as this acorn-shaped object.
Yeah. There's a whole conspiracy theory that, like, the Roswell crash and the UFOs that went over the Capitol building and the stuff that happened in California when they were firing at something was all the Nazi bell, and it's actually the Nazis who escaped to Antarctica, and they've got a secret base and they've got UFOs.
Yes, they do. And small people, probably.
Yeah, tiny.
There's loads. Yeah, there's loads. I mean,
there's loads of different theories, but that's one of the theories. But there is a similarity there. Yeah. Now, whether the Nazi bell, they went round, they were into their cult, they were looking for all these different objects all over the world. Whether they actually had recovered an actual UFO and were trying to emulate it and copy it, who knows? No. But it's very similar to the Nazi bell,
and
which
it's also
supposed Foo Fighters.
Well, it's also very similar to the Vimanas, what we mentioned. Yeah. You know, the craft has been sort of mentioned
in the Mahabharata.
The text and the what's it called? The thingy text.
The Mahabharata.
Yeah.
The Vedic text.
Text, that's it.
And now we're going to go on to 1966. And we're going to zoom all the way across to Australia. So in 1966, over 300 children and staff from a Melbourne school reportedly witnessed multiple UFOs silently flying through the sky before landing in a nearby field. It's the largest mass UFO sighting in Australia, yet hardly anything was reported on it at the time. Over the years, there have been differing reports about the exact details of what happened on April the 6th at the Westall High School, such as people claiming there were 3 saucer-like objects, while some claiming there was just one. They reported the object descended into a nearby open wild grass field adjacent to a grove of pine trees in an area known locally as the Grange. The object then ascended at great speed in a northwesterly direction over the suburb of Clayton South. And we have one of the newspaper articles here. Flying saucer mystery, school silent. What was it? That is one of the very few articles at the time, and it was more of a local paper.
There was a documentary about this.
There is a documentary about this. It's very interesting.
It was.
So the witnesses to this event were mostly children. There were a few adults, it was teachers and different kinds of staff at the school, but mostly there were the children that were on their break. I don't know what you call it, their recreation time, whatever.
Recess,
whatever. Playtime.
Dinner time, playtime. That's what we said.
Playtime. Yeah.
So fresh air.
But this was kept secret for almost 40 years, well, just over 40 years actually. And these witnesses claim that this is because they were intimidated into silence by government officials who descended upon the school in the aftermath of the event. Children were told they would be seriously punished if they ever spoke of it, and the staff were threatened to lose their jobs and the possibility of ever teaching again anywhere. So they wouldn't just lose a job there, they would never teach again. And so, apart from a few articles in local papers, like the one we just put up on the screen, the event was buried and the witnesses remained silent. Many of the child witnesses, who are obviously now adults, have come forward in recent years with identical stories. And many were finally relieved to tell their stories that they'd kept buried for decades. Australian UFO researcher James Kibble interviewed a Mr. Andrew Greenwood, a science teacher at Westall. According to Greenwood, this is what he was told. Greenwood told me the UFO was first brought to his attention by a hysterical child who ran into his classroom and told him there's a flying saucer outside. He thought the child had become deranged or something and didn't take notice, but when the child insisted that the object was in the sky, he decided to go out and have a look for himself.
Yeah.
And I believe Expialidocious is asking what the documentary is called. It's called The Westall UFO Incident. It's actually made by James Fox, I believe, who did Out of the Blue, which is very good. If you watch a UFO documentary, watch Out of the Blue. And look up James Fox UFO documentaries. I'm sure he did it. Westall 1966 or Westall UFO it's called. And we've got a little picture of the school in the 60s. I don't know if it's exactly 1966, but there it is. Looks like a big giant shed, really, doesn't it?
Shed.
Yeah. So that's the Westall school. And yeah. So to continue, when he went outside, he noticed a group of children looking towards the northeast area of the school grounds. And as he approached them, he claims he saw a UFO hovering close to the power line. Mr. Greenwood described it as a round, silver object about the size of a car with a metal rod sticking up in the air. But he didn't call it a pencil like the astronaut. According to Kibble, the teacher then told him 5 planes came and surrounded the object as more people began gathering to watch the scene before them. So there's the planes coming in. Again, another theme throughout these.
Yeah.
He called it the most amazing flying thing he had ever seen in his life. The planes were doing everything possible to approach the object, and he said how they all avoided collision he will never know. Every time they got too close to the object, it would slowly accelerate, then rapidly accelerate, and then move away from them and stop abruptly. Then they would take off after it again, and the same thing would happen. So it was very good at evading them.
Yeah.
This game of cat and mouse apparently went on for about 20 minutes, and by this time, Mr. Greenwood said that 350 children and staff were watching on. Suddenly, the UFO shot away and vanished within seconds, and it was at this point the headmaster came out and ordered everyone to go back to class. And then the military came in, and they were all threatened, and a lot of them kept quiet about it.
So that's quite surprising that the teacher actually come forward as well, and I think... like what was mentioned as well, like apparently the camera was taken off here. But there was nothing to see again, nothing to hide.
People are scared of ridicule.
Nothing to worry about, and that's just kids' imagination and why all this sort of.
They think they're going to be called crazy or ridiculed or.
Yep.
It's a shame. It's a shame, really.
And
that brings us on to August the 29th, 1967. So. On this date, a 13-year-old boy and his 9-year-old sister told local police that they were watching cows in a field and saw 4 small black beings about 47 inches, which is 120 centimetres tall, who appeared to rise in the air and enter a round spaceship about 15 feet in diameter that was hovering over the field. The police noted sulphur odour and the dried grass at the place where the sphere was alleged to have taken off. The children's story is one of the reports of UFO sightings investigated by the French government, made public in a mass release of documents from March 2007, which apparently received so many hits on the internet that the site crashed. There's some, I mean, I know you could argue that, we've got a couple of kids, 13-year-old, 9-year-old, but the fact that the police that went there noticed a sulfur-like residue and there was marks on the grass. Does give it some credibility.
Mm.
No, I've not got the pictures that the children done because I've lost pages. I've lost pages. I don't know what's happened to my thing. I've had all the pages.
Yeah. I think a lot of them pictures, what the kids drew, because we did see them.
Shall I see if I can find them?
Yeah, you have got them somewhere, because I did see them somewhere. They do vary in style because they see them at different angles, I guess, but all very similar. So, yeah, I remember seeing them. Actually, they're probably better than that other drawing we saw earlier.
I've just Googled it, because I've lost something that I don't know what's happened to this document. It's just went all weird. This is the trials and tribulations of going live. Right.
Oh.
So here we go. We've got some of the pictures here that was drawn at the time. There is other ones. That's Britain.
You gotta show that one.
Yeah, this one was in Britain, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I'll find them up and we'll backtrack on it for the next episode because there is, if you look at all the pictures that the kids in Australia drew,
they do vary in quality, and I know some of the younger children's ones were quite funny.
That's not all of them. That's some of them are just completely. I don't know why it's even coming up because
but yeah, that's what you get, all sort of strange results now, don't you? So things that don't even have nothing to do with whatever you're searching.
Yeah, it's like I was looking for a certain video for one of the people that was probably going to be in the next episode because we've been here for 45 minutes and I'm still in 1967. It's definitely going to be another one. And this video is so difficult to find out. Did you find it? You found it similar, but you didn't find the one I wanted.
No.
Things are going missing.
We had it before and I couldn't find it, so...
Yeah, there was a school in Africa too.
There was, yeah. It
was a very similar story as well. The African school.
Which one was the one? I don't know. I don't say just in case we give it away. Which one is the one where one of the children went missing as well? Am I giving it away? Probably.
You're giving it away.
I'm giving it away. But anyway, right. Continuing on.
Yeah, there was a child that didn't go missing when the UFO in Australia. They moved away after the Westall thing, and like our best friend at the time and all the other kids didn't know where they went. Never heard from them again. And I think that enticed the fear amongst the people in Westall that, like, if you spoke about it, something terrible was going to happen to you. They still to this day don't know where this child went. Right, August the 29th, 1967. I've done that. Yeah, just wanted to remind you of the date. October the 4th, 1967, I've not done, so we're going to do that one. Right, at approximately 7:15 p.m. on October, where did I get August from? October the 4th, 1967, Air Canada Flight 305 pilots, Captain Pierre Charbonneau.
It sounds like a wine.
It does sound a bit like wine or something. And First Officer Robert Ralph were flying above Quebec, about 180 miles west of Nova Scotia. Everything was perfectly routine until they noticed something trailing their plane. They witnessed a massive rectangular-shaped object, orange in colour, gliding through the sky. Trailing the rectangle were small orange orbs that seemed almost like a tail to the main object.
No, we see this. You remember that Nuremberg picture we showed you the other week? That had the balls and the orbs, and we talked about orbs with the crop circles, I think, and the Foo Fighters as well. They're usually described as the glowing orbs.
Yeah.
So now we've got the object and the glowing orbs.
Yeah. So the pilots watched with growing concern for several minutes when suddenly there was some sort of explosion near the rectangle. A large white cloud was left behind, sporadically changing colours from red to blue. Weird. 2 minutes later, another explosion occurred, leaving behind a similar cloud of colours. The pilots watched in amazement as the small orbs swarmed around the rectangle and, along with it, descended into a thick cloud cover and disappeared out of sight. Both pilots, visibly shaken, reported the incident when they finally landed. And the next one. There's something seriously wrong with this. I'm missing another page. What's happened to my...
Well,
I'll just tell you because I know what it is.
I uploaded it.
Jamie
did I upload
Jamie
it wrong?
uploaded it, so I think he's...
Yeah.
We'll blame Jamie.
Indeed.
Right. I need to get the date for you, though, because...
Well, you notice so
I can't
far...
remember all the dates.
Yeah, notice so far that we've noticed is there's no, like, these people, you know, wrestling crocodiles. I've seen them so far. It is military, Air Force and things like that. So, again, people still believe that it's only these sort of crazies that see them, but it's not. It really isn't. Yeah, oops, Jamie, yes. I probably screwed it up. He was trying to give me the directions and the orders from distance, and I probably heard wrong and put it in wrong. But my bad. Or maybe it wasn't me. Maybe it was Lisa. But she's not going to upset that. But yeah.
Oh, right, it was me. It was me.
It probably was you.
It was somebody, but my first page is missing, so I found something to read to you. Right. That's really rubbish.
Do you think?
Basically, we're doing Shag Harbour, but I've lost my first page.
Right.
And Danielle done a lot of work on this, and I've lost it.
Yeah. Danielle, have you still got the work?
Danielle, have you still got the work? Right. So the Shag Harbour was in Nova Scotia, and what happened was several people witnessed seeing an object flying over the harbour and then crashing into the sea, and they thought it was a plane crash, and many of them called the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and reported that some sort of plane had crashed into the sea. And the police had then commandeered some of the fishing boats before the military arrived as well on their boats to go out and look for it. And they couldn't find any signs of wreckage. But what they did find was a weird orangey yellow foam on the surface of the water.
Yeah. So it was a USO, wasn't it?
This was actually a USO. Whether it crashed or whether it went in there intentionally, I don't know. But there was this weird orange foam that nobody had ever seen. None of the fishermen had ever seen it on the water, and it's never been explained. I've never seen it again since.
Well, people have said it's bioluminescence or whatever it's called. What's it called? Like plant life and fish life that create.
Water,
yeah,
they've never seen anything before or after, and that's the only time they've ever seen it. So yeah, that is the Kecksburg UFO, and I'm just trying to figure out where this page starts and what I've missed. So that's not it. I'm so annoyed. Anyway, I'll show you a picture in the meantime, because I've got a picture.
Yes.
This is a picture of what they saw, and they saw what some people described as a UFO. Some people thought a plane was crashing into the sea. And
yeah. Danielle can explain it all next week.
Yeah, Danielle will tell you all about it because she's an expert, but there's a corruption in this file and it's getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
Because I read it all earlier and it was all there.
Yeah.
This is all going horribly wrong, and yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so
do we go on to January 6th, 1969 then, or?
Yeah, I can show you a couple of newspaper clippings from the
from the story we're not told you.
No, I won't. We'll backtrack on that.
Yeah, we'll backtrack that on that with Danielle.
It all went wrong.
Danielle up there, yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere between last week when I got ill and kind of doing it now, something's happened to this. Anyway, January the 6th, 1969, we will revisit Shag Harbour because it's very interesting. We'll revisit that when I find all my information. So, 2 years before he became governor of Georgia, I've been left on my own. I take it the dog's about to do something.
Yeah.
This is all going amazing. So 2 years before he became the governor of Georgia, Jimmy Carter was preparing to give a speech at the Lions Club meeting. At about 7:15 p.m., one of the guests called his attention to a strange object that was visible about 30 degrees above the horizon to the west of where he was standing. Carter described the object as being bright white and being about as bright as the moon. It was said to have closed in on where he was standing, but to have stopped beyond a stand of pine trees some distance from him. The object is then said to have changed colour, first to blue, then to red, then back to white, before appearing to recede into the distance. Carter felt the object was self-illuminated and not solid in nature. Carter's report indicates that it was witnessed by about 10 to 12 other people and was in view for 10 to 12 minutes before it passed out of sight. And in case you don't know, you probably do though, this is Jimmy Carter, who eventually became the American president, and he saw a UFO. So, yeah. In 1973, about the incident, Carter said, "There were about 20 of us standing outside of a little restaurant, I believe a high school lunchroom, and a kind of green light appeared in the western sky. This was right after sundown. It got brighter and brighter, and then it eventually disappeared. It didn't have any solid substance to it. It was just a very peculiar-looking light. None of us could understand what it was." Speaking in a 2005 interview, Carter said, "All of a sudden, one of the men looked up and said, 'Look, over in the west,' and there was a bright light in the sky. We all saw it. And then the light, it got closer and closer to us. And then it stopped. I don't know how far away, but it stopped beyond the pine trees. All of a sudden, it changed colour to blue, then it changed to red, then back to white. And we were trying to figure out what in the world it could be. And then it receded into the distance." This sighting is said to have had a huge personal impact on Carter and his perception of UFOs and UFO sightings. During his 1975 election campaign, he is said to have told reporters that as a result of it, he would institute a policy of openness if he were elected to office, stating, "One thing's for sure, I'll never make fun of people who say they've seen unidentified objects in the sky. If I become president, I'll make every piece of information this country has about UFO sightings available to the public and the scientists." However, clearly that didn't happen, because despite this pledge, once he was elected, Carter distanced himself from disclosure, citing defense implications as being behind his decision. So yeah, that's a president. President saw a UFO. Nothing to see here though. Are we back, James?
Might be.
Might be.
Might be.
This is going swimmingly, isn't it? Right. 1969. April the 12th to be exact. Right, we are now in Finland. During, and I don't know if I'm going to say the words right, but you get the gist. During a Fuga Magister jet training mission in Pori Airport on April the 12th, 1969, a Finnish Defence Forces flight controller told pilot in training Tarmo Tukiva to investigate 7 air balloons that were floating approximately 1,500 to 3,000 metres above the airport. Tukiva reported that the objects were ball or disc-shaped, but could not determine his distance to them. According to Tukiva, the objects accelerated away from him at great speed. Hello.
Hello. That fast?
Just as fast as that, yeah. Undetermined radar images were also later reported 200 kilometers away in Vasa. That's with like about 12 A's. Vasa. Yeah.
That was that
A second pilot in training, Juko Kurinen, says he overheard the radio communications between the flight controller and Tukiva, as well as observing the objects. According to the Finnish Armed Forces magazine.
Hey, go on then, say that one.
Rio to Devaki.
Yeah.
very popular magazine. I hope you've all heard of it. The April 12 reports were similar to other cases occurring over bodies of water during ongoing military exercises, and he speculated that they may have been due to transnational spy planes or aircraft. Yeah. And no idea if that's what that magazine was called, but I'm sure it's something very similar.
No, I'm sure it was not quite that. But kudos.
And I do apologise for all these missing pages. Yeah, it's like somebody's coming, like when you get the documents from NASA or the Air Force and they're all blacked out. That's what my PowerPoint's like right now. It's all blacked out. September the 1st, 1969. The Labor Day 1969 UFO incident occurred on the night of September 1st, 1969 in Berkshire County, Massachusetts, when over 250 people reported witnessing a UFO. The incident has been deemed a significantly historic and true event by the Great Barrington Historical Society and Massachusetts historians. So if they say it's true, who are you to argue with them? The most famous encounter from this incident occurred in Sheffield near Old Covered Bridge. I think that's the name of the bridge, or they might just be describing it, I don't know. Thomas Reed and his family were crossing the bridge when they saw a disc-shaped object hovering in the air. Reed described the craft as a white orb that was bigger than a football field.
Oh, the old football field measurements. I still don't get that.
I don't understand why people in America always measure UFOs in football fields.
Yeah. I guess that's something what people can relate to.
I have no idea how big a football field is.
Especially a football field up in the sky.
How big is a football field, though? I don't know.
I thought Danielle said the answer the other week, actually, but I forgot.
I forgot already. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quite big. I've seen ones with two football fields.
Can't you just give me meters or feet or?
Yeah.
I mean, it was 3 football fields. What? Anyway, they tried escaping the UFO by continuing to drive down the covered bridge line, but the craft followed them.
They do actually. No, XB is exactly right. We use buses, don't we? It's like the size of 2 buses or aircraft, 2 Boeing 747s or something like that. Yeah, probably. Carry on. Yeah.
So they tried to escape it, but they were followed. Reed says the car was engulfed in light as they were pulled into the UFO. When Reed took a polygraph test, he was found to be 99.1% truthful. However, polygraph tests are not great, are they?
No. Unless you're on a TV reality star.
They're not acceptable in a court of law.
Chat show, yeah.
Yeah, they're only acceptable on Jerry Springer.
Or Jeremy Kyle or something like that.
Jeremy Kyle in the UK.
Yeah.
So another alleged off-world incident that happened occurred at Lake Mansfield in Great Barrington. Melanie Kirchdorfer, that's exactly what it says on my screen, and her family had gone to the lake, and when her father backed into the parking lot, a very bright light engulfed their car. Everyone in the car began to panic. Her father decided to chase the light, despite Melanie begging him not to. She and her sister began to shake in fear. Her sister did not remember anything after that. However, she remembered levitating and then being on a ship. She remembered being laid out while on it. Tom Warner remembered seeing Melanie to the right of him on the ship. He recalled seeing total fear on her face. However, she did not remember seeing him. She recalled being in a room with several other children. Suddenly, the other children began to disappear one by one. After that, she woke up by the lake by herself, and she had to walk home. Meanwhile, Tom remembered at the same time being laid on his back at the other end of the family's property. So that's very close proximity. Both think that they got sucked up in a car.
So, yeah, well, that's the strange thing, that they both recall the same starting incident, but then they have different recollections of what was going on there. Were they being forced to see different things? Were they actually seeing
implanted
things?
Memories?
We don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Apparently, it's 100 yards. 100 yards. I didn't even know what that
100
means.
yards.
What's a yard?
Yeah, we don't know. Can you remember when we looked to see what was that measurement to do with a bucket or something? But there were.
No, I didn't even know.
I can't even remember. And we were like, "What the bloody hell is that?" We didn't look. And when we read it, we still didn't know. I can't remember what the term was, but that was
so now we're going to go to South Africa. Bernie Smit. This is June the 26th, 1972, by the way. Bernie Smit, the owner of the Braeside Farm near Fort Beaufort in the Eastern Cape, claimed to have fired shots. Why do people fire shots at them? Stop it. At an unknown object during the morning of 26th of June, 1971. He was alerted to it by his labourer, Boer de Klerk, who at 9 o'clock noticed a fireball of some 2.5 feet in diameter moving about at treetop height. Smith accurately fired 8 shots at it, but these had no visible effect. Instead, the object reacted to their presence and voices by shying away and hiding. Police Sergeant Piet Kitchling and Police Station Commander P.R. Van Rensburg, can't they just be called like Mr. Jones and stuff? Yeah. Arrived at 10 o'clock and fired additional shots, because let's just all fire at it, not knowing what it is.
That's the way you do it, isn't
it? They stated that the object had been changing its colour up to this point, but now assumed the appearance of a gunmetal grey, somewhat oval-shaped 44-gallon drum. When Smith fired 2 final shots from a mere 10 to 18 metre distance, the object lifted off, entering impenetrable woods where it could be heard crashing through the undergrowth. Smith had a final sighting after 12 noon, but subsequently heard its sound at night. 6 council members at Fort Beaufort also reported watching the object through binoculars. 9 imprints, that's 3 sets of 3, of its supposed landing gear were found in the hard clay. Though the Grahamstown Army Regiment was said to have investigated the site, the base could later not produce any records of the event.
Surprise!
The incident received coverage by the international press and led to businesses capitalising on the incident, with a tavern calling itself the UFO Bar. How creative! Very creative. And painting flying saucers on the walls, and the local Savoy Hotel keeping clippings of the stories posted on its walls.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how again, like throughout the years, as you notice, the stories, the craft changed slightly. And at the moment, we've still got landing gear, which actually I thought sort of at this sort of date, the landing gear gets reported less, but here we are. We've still got a couple of reports of landing gear, which I find strange.
Yeah.
I don't know. It does seem strange.
I'm going to have a little drink, and then we're going to do October 1973.
What happened in October 1973?
Well, I'm going to tell you what happened in 1973. Hopefully, if my slides aren't missing.
Maybe they got abducted as well.
Yeah, my slides got abducted by aliens.
Mm-hmm. Blame it all on aliens. I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Yeah, you didn't do a very good Giorgio impression because you're bald,
I've
Jamie.
got no hair.
Right.
Yeah.
On October 11th, 1973, 2 men, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker Jr., arrived at the Sheriff's Department in Pascagoula, Mississippi? I think is it Pascagoula? Does that say Pascagoula?
Yeah, I'll just say yeah.
Pascagoula, anyway. Mississippi.
Yeah.
And they were frantic. They told authorities that they had just been abducted by aliens. Each had a puncture wound in one arm. Police tried to catch them in a lie, but it didn't work. Both men then later passed polygraph tests. In 1973, Hickson was Parker's foreman at a shipyard. The 2 had gone fishing after work at an abandoned boat launch and were still there after the sun had gone down. I was just getting ready to get some more bait, Hickson wrote to the Washington Post in 1975, when I heard a kind of zipping sound. I looked up and saw a blue flashing light. Calvin turned around too. We saw a 30-foot long object with a little dome on top.
Oh, a little classic Jetson UFO.
As it hovered just above the ground, 3 small creatures emerged, also hovering, he said. The men were suddenly paralysed. The creatures grabbed them with pincer-type claws and pulled them towards the object.
That's a bit scary. The pincher, little pincher hands.
Pincer horns.
Little crab hands.
And we got a picture of these two.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing these actually on a TV program, and I heard their interview.
Here they are.
Recording from the police interview.
That is the Charles Hickson on the left and Calvin Parker on the right, and yeah.
Now these people did sound a little bit like hillbillies. However, when they compared the testimonies, the police, or you're not going to say that bit. Well, I'll carry on. They basically said exactly the same, and you could hear them actually talking to each other on the video call.
Yeah, they tried to catch them out.
They were like, nobody's going to believe us, you know. But yeah, carry on, because that's probably what you're not going to tell everybody. But,
right, so Hickson said they were subjected to a physical examination by something that looked like a big eye. Now, I've got an eye phobia. That would be the worst part for me. No. Anyway, and a constant mechanical sound was buzzing around them the whole time. And then they were dropped off. That sounds like they were just like getting like an Uber. Yeah, they were dropped off. Right back at the Dark Delta where they started, Hickson found Parker standing up, arms raised to the sky and screaming. Yeah, don't blame them, to be honest. Then they ran for help. At first, sheriff's investigators thought the men must have been drunk or lying. After interviewing them, they left the room with a recorder secretly typing, and you can actually listen to this on probably YouTube or Rumble or wherever. Just search for it. I can't use it because it's not mine. They were hoping to catch the pair dropping that once they left the room. They didn't, though. They kept talking about what they'd seen, how scared they were, and trying to rationalise it when they were both in the room on their own. They didn't catch them out at all. We did everything we knew to try and break their stories, Jackson County Sheriff's Captain Glenn Ryder told the Post in 1975. If they were lying to me, they should be in Hollywood, he said. Mm-hmm. Hickson was 42 at the time and was well known in the community, so perhaps he felt more able to handle the media crush. He recounted the experience to anyone that would listen. He went on Johnny Carson and Dick Cavett, no idea who they are, but I'm sure they were famous in the 70s, and he published a book in 1983. Parker, on the other hand, was 18 or 19 when it happened. He'd just arrived in Pascagoula from an even smaller town and had planned to earn some extra money to go home and get married. He told the media that he had passed out at the beginning of the whole affair and couldn't remember what happened back at the time. However, in a more recent interview, he said that is the only lie he ever told about the incident, because he does remember every last detail.
Yeah, well,
he didn't want to be called crazy. He was a bit ashamed. He was a bit embarrassed. He was terrified, and he says he remembers everything. And he said he was so scared afterwards that he'd been infected by the aliens, by some unknown virus or disease, that when he got home to the sheriff's department, he bathed in bleach for hours because he was absolutely terrified. And he remembered everything. And he couldn't handle the skepticism and the spotlight, so he left the town, got married, and he took up a lot of jobs. And if anybody ever recognised him, he quit his job because he didn't want to be associated with it, because he was like embarrassed.
I think the younger one didn't want to report it either, because he said, let's just leave.
But the younger one did finally come out of the shadows in, I believe it was 2019. They put a plaque up, a historical marker, calling it one of the best documented cases, and there's a picture of him with his family there, and that's when he spoke about it after then, because obviously by 2019 you'd had things like the Tic Tac UFO things getting released by the military, and you're not automatically assumed to be as crazy as you might have been in the 70s by saying these things, but he's remembered all these years, and it really affected him. So that's him. It's sad, really, that people were that scared of what other people think, that they don't talk about what they've seen.
Yeah, I know the subject is a bit strange, but I mean, the thing is, nobody's saying this exactly from different planets. But even so,
I don't know if I got abducted, would I tell people?
I don't even know why it's a big deal saying that it's from other planets or other dimensions. I don't. So, I don't know. I just don't think it's such a strange thing, but I guess some people do.
Right, and January now, 1974. You're nearly getting born, Jamie, on our timeline.
Am I? Yeah.
Nearly.
Nearly.
So on January 23rd, 1974, people reported hearing, this is weird, this one. Stupid, not weird, stupid. Reported hearing a huge bang. They felt earth tremors and saw a brilliant light in the sky above the Berwyn Mountains in Wales. Families...
You got another word
I got to speak Welsh, yeah, I know, yeah. Families in the villages of Lalanderfell and Lalandrillu were settling down to watch TV when an explosion was heard and the ground shook. It actually measured 3.5 on the Richter scale. As people ran from their homes, fearing another tremor, they saw a blaze of light on the mountainside. A nurse who believed an aircraft had crashed drove to the site and saw a pulsating orange and red glow on the hillside alongside other lights. Police converged on the area and emergency services were put on standby. Although searches were undertaken, officially nothing was found, leading to claims of a cover-up.
So
they would never cover anything up.
So even if it was just a traffic accident or something, no, I don't know why there'd be like all that traffic up on a top of a hill like that.
So in the 4 decades...
There'd be evidence, wouldn't there? There'd be something left over, you know.
In the 4 decades since this happened, there's been a huge debate as to what exactly happened that night, with TV documentaries being made and numerous books being written on the subject. Some researchers claim a UFO crashed, with further claiming bodies were retrieved and taken away by soldiers.
Yeah.
Other theories suggest it was a meteor shower combined with an earthquake, because that would be convenient, wouldn't it? Yeah. The actual official explanation is that it was just an earthquake, because they've got the Richter scale, so it was an earthquake, but that doesn't explain anything in the sky.
No.
Anyway, the epicenter of which was at Bala Lake, and there's one of the skeptic theories. Amazing. And I think it might be the one that I believe.
Right, go on then. What is it?
It's the misperception of poachers on the hillside carrying lamps.
Poachers?
It was poachers with lamps, everybody.
Right. So they find up anything, just any old crap, don't they?
Yeah. Right, anyway, we've got a couple of things from the actual history, the documents here. So over the years, more information has surfaced. These are some of the logs from the calls that were made on that night. So Gwynedd Police Constabulary Major Instant Log. Explosion 21:10.
Explosion, no little tilly lamp. No little lamp.
Didn't say poachers on the hillside with a torch. Explosion 21:10 p.m. PC receiving 999 calls of a UFO. A witness who saw an object on the hillside said in a statement, saw bright red light like coal fire red, large, perfect circle like a big bonfire. Could see lights above and to the right and white lights moving to the bottom. Light changed colour to yellowish white and back again. A message in a police log said, there has been a large explosion in the area and there's a large fire on the mountainside. I can see the fire where I am. Poachers. Telex message. What's a telex?
Isn't that?
Not like a...
I'm going to think of teletext. What is telex?
Is that like one of them...
I think I've seen it on Tomorrow's World.
Tomorrow's World!
Remember the old science programme, what shows you what technology's coming?
Is it like an old-fashioned, like...
Computer?
Not computer, like...
Printout?
No, Jamie, you keep saying words and confusing me. Stop saying words!
Fact.
Telegram. Is it like a telegram?
Probably.
I don't know. A telex, which might be a telegram, and might be one of the things. Might be one of the things that Jamie just spilled off, but I don't know. So a telex message to Chief Constable Gwynedd Constabulary. of Gwynedd Constabulary, 22 p.m. approximately, saw bright green lights, object with a tail travelling west.
Cool, them lamps
saw in the Bangor
brilliant.
direction, dropped down. That's all it says.
Yeah. It's weirdly worded, isn't it?
And then at approximately 10 p.m, saw a circular light in the sky at an estimated height of 1,500 feet. This object exploded and pieces fell to the ground. Mr. Blanc, I'm sure that's not his name. But,
Mr. Blanc.
Mr. Blanc estimates the pieces would have fallen into the sea between Rhyl and Liverpool.
Wow.
Yeah, so if Mr. Blanc says so.
Big estimator.
It happened.
So the lights are now turned green, these little lamps.
Yeah,
poacher lamp.
amazing torches that these poachers have got.
Yeah.
Right, so as we said, that the nurse actually thought that a plane had crashed, so she went up there to try and help people. But yeah, poachers.
Yeah.
Some of the excuses they come up with is, can't they just say, "Oh, we don't know"? I'd rather they just said, "We don't know," than just like come up with this bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah.
November the 5th, 1975, and it's not Guy Fawkes. And I'm sure anybody that's not in the UK is like, who's Guy Fawkes?
Guy Fawkes, yes.
Gunpowder plot.
They don't know it, do they? Some people. We'll have to do maybe a program.
Gunpowder plot. Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament ages ago. And now we burn effigies of him.
To celebrate that he failed. But
that he failed to blow up the government. We burn effigies of him.
But there's a
when I say
conspiracy.
We, I don't mean me, because I don't do it.
Yeah, there's a conspiracy in itself, because he single-handedly rolled about 37 barrels underneath the tower,
and nobody saw him.
Underneath the actual, Parliament as well. Underneath, it's like nobody saw him. There's no police, no guards, no nothing.
Yeah. So anyway. November the 5th, 1975. Perhaps one of the most famous abduction cases, alongside the Hill abduction. Can you guess what it is before I say? Anybody? Anybody? Not you.
Well, I ain't going to say it anyway.
You don't know, do you?
Yeah, I do. I do. Because this might have been the one what I also had to get the date for you.
I'll let you know, because I had to ask him for the date. Right, I'm going to tell you. Unless Jamie wants to tell me.
No, you tell.
You say. He doesn't know. Yeah. On November the 5th, 1975, 7 men bore witness to a UFO. As a result, 6 men returned home traumatized and forever changed. Their workmate and the 7th man, Travis Walton, did not return home until 5 days later. Yeah. Those 6 men were loggers in northeast Arizona, and they witnessed their workmate and friend, Travis Walton, being abducted by aliens that evening. Kind of, a little bit. They saw the before and then the after. They didn't see the actual, but whatever. As the 7 men were driving home, they saw what they described as a fire in the sky, and that's what they called the movie.
Yeah.
I've got a picture of there is a movie, but
that's
spoiler alert.
Elaborated, yeah.
Spoiler alert, a lot of the things in the movie didn't actually happen. It's like Hollywooded. It's been Hollywooded. But that is a scene from the movie. Yeah, that's the only bit that did happen.
I don't think the aliens actually put pastry sheets on.
They didn't put pastry on
Philo pastry sheet.
But that's the only bit that kind of did. The bit with the eye in the movie, which is absolutely disgusting for somebody with an eye phobia. That didn't happen. Thank God. Yeah, but that's Fire in the Sky, which was made, I believe, in 1993. 1993-ish, thereabouts. Anywho, back to the story.
Yeah.
Right, as the 7 men were driving home, I've already said that, they saw what they described as a fire in the sky. They stopped to investigate. And then they claim what they saw after they went over the hump of the hill. That's not the word for it, the hump of the hill. What?
The brow of the hill.
The brow of the hill. That'll do. They went over the brow of the hill and they saw an enormous UFO.
Yeah, or a light in the sky.
About the size of a football field, apparently.
Yeah, they were seeing it, weren't they? Tracking it, and they were trying to catch up with it.
Yeah, So they saw this enormous UFO, which may or may not have been the size of multiple football fields, and the rest of them stayed in the truck. Travis Walton made a decision that he would soon regret. He got out.
Yeah.
He got out and went for a nose, which I might have done, to be honest, because I'm very nosy.
See, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be the person going out to get a closer look, or I'll be freaking taking over the steering wheel and driving myself home quick as humanly possible.
I might have got out, so I don't blame him.
Yeah.
In retrospect, he should have stayed in the bloody car, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So he gets out, and what happened was, according to the people in the car who came back 5 days before him, which we'll get to, a big blue beam came out of the craft and knocked Travis really on his arse, basically. He went flying. He's gone flying. And this scared the shit out of them. And his best friend at the time, who was called Mike Rogers, and he was also his boss at this logging company, he was driving, and he just hit the accelerator because he shot himself. And they were all
they just assumed he's dead. They can't do nothing.
They thought he was dead, that he'd been killed by whatever.
They thought they can go get help.
He drives a mile up the road, shitting himself. Like the whole time it had been happening, they're like, Travis, come back, and then he gets hit, and then can't really blame him. I mean, it's a UFO. You don't know what you're going to do. He gets a mile up the road. He stops, and he's like, "We've got to go back. We've got to go back for Travis."
Everyone's
no. And he's like, "Well, I'm going back. You can get out and walk. I'm going back. Whatever." They all go back anyway.
Yeah.
And there's nothing there. There's no UFO, and there's no Travis.
See, that's the thing. You've got to understand the dynamics of that force, because they weren't all friends, as though they keep saying. That was just him, and that's why he wanted to go back. The others weren't so bothered because they were just pulled into like a contract work. You know, they had this logging job, needed to be done, needed men. Some of them didn't not only not know each other, but some people actually dislike each other. Yeah. I know one of the theories
comes into what happens afterwards.
Yeah.
So they go back, and the UFO's gone, but so has Travis. There's no Travis, and they're terrified. So what they do is, there's a picture here of them all. Just quickly put that on the screen. That is the whole crew.
They look like some kind of little band.
Looks like a boy band from the 70s.
Band cover,
yeah. And you can get their album.
The Loggers.
The Loggers. With their song "Knock on Wood." Right. The 6 that's left drive back into town, and they contact the police because they don't know what the hell. They've just seen a UFO. Travis is missing. What the hell's going on? So they contact the police. And there was a lot of skepticism over their story. They thought they'd murdered him. They really did. They thought it was either an elaborate hoax. They didn't believe the alien story per se. Some people did, but the authorities didn't. And they were like, "Well, if they killed him, is this just a cover up because they killed him?"
I can understand that part. You wouldn't think, "Oh yeah, I believe the alien story." You would think, especially because there was mention of the fight. You would think. Yeah. I'll give them that one.
However, the 6 crewmen were given polygraphs again, which they passed. Yeah. One of them was inconclusive, but he didn't fail. And it became an international media circus. Like, straight away. Like, where's Travis Walton? Have these people killed him? However, dun, 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 plot twist. 5 days later, Mike receives a phone call. It's Travis. He's at a random phone box in the middle of nowhere. Apparently, according to Travis, he woke up in the forest where he had been abducted. And he thought it had only been 5 hours, but it had been 5 days. He was wearing his clothes, but they were on backwards. And that was an obvious sign that something a bit dodgy had gone on. His clothes had been removed at some point. With the encounter with aliens, he was had no idea that it had been 5 days. Upon his return, he was understandably absolutely terrified. He'd been through quite a traumatic ordeal. Now, if you've seen the film, you might think, "Oh, no wonder! Look what they've done to his eye." But it was still quite traumatic. But they didn't do anything to his eye, so that's good. That's good. However, what he did say, which isn't in the movie, and it probably should have been, because the truth is actually more interesting than what they made it out to be in the movie. So he was knocked out in the woods and he woke up in a room that reminded him of a hospital room. And there was 3 strange-looking creatures that were short and bald with big eyes, which he later got somebody to sketch out, and it looks very much like an alien grey. Were watching over him. And he freaked out. Do you blame him? So he freaked out. He said he tried to fight the 3 creatures so that he could get away, because he's like, what's going on? Like, what are these things? But then he says that a human, or a human-looking creature that was wearing some sort of odd helmet, came into the room, and seeing something that looked human seemed to calm him down, but he was still couldn't move because he was paralyzed with fear. But like they calmed him down because there was something human there.
No, I think he was naked at this point because Expialidocious said, "I thought he was naked."
He was naked on the spaceship, but when he
was out, apparently, yeah,
he had his clothes on back to front. In the film, he comes back naked, but the film's Hollywood.
Well, it ain't just that. These people's stories change because some people...
No, he didn't change his story.
He didn't change his story.
Hollywood had him naked.
I just didn't know if they didn't want to come out with certain things or things like that, because I know that embarrassment or they couldn't recall until later on.
He claims that like he'd went running through a couple of rooms and he'd seen like he was in some sort of mothership and there was other ships and he'd seen a mixture of alien greys and human-looking things, so it was like they were working together.
Yeah.
It was very interesting.
It was.
So that's his story, and there is a picture of what the loggers drew. It was in the newspaper at the time, and it's a very artistic picture of a UFO, so I'm going to show you. That is what they say. Abducted Travis and had the big blue beam of light thing.
It's poacher's lamp.
Yeah.
Swamp gas.
It's an ashtray.
Yeah.
So that is the Travis Walton story, and
I believe the story because there's so many aspects.
He's not changed it. You like what you just made the mistake thinking he changed it. That's not. It's the movie. The movie changed it.
It's people's well, people could tell them. Plus, I knew like some people think they made it up as a approach to get attention or things like that, but. You know, some of these guys actually hated each other, and you would have thought over the years they'd have said, "Yeah, it's all BS." Yeah. You know, we made it up, blah blah blah. But they've
never changed their story.
Even some of the ones who don't speak anymore, still or now or then or whatever, always they still stick to the same. They have different versions of what they believe was going on, but they all say they thought he was dead. You know, so they panicked. But then the driver, what's his name? Yeah. Who was his pal?
Like,
wanted to get back.
One of them was like a younger bloke. He was a bit of a sort of quick.
Yeah, and that's the one who failed.
They had a fight a couple of days before, so they thought that.
Is that the one who got the inconclusive?
He got an inconclusive on his test
because he was worried about drugs, weren't he? That he'd been taken. He thought they'd go. He had
marijuana or something. He was worried about that. But all these years later, they've never changed the story. Never, not a single one of them. And they weren't like a close-knit group of friends. Even like Mike, who was Travis's best friend at the time, they've drifted apart over the years, but they still stick to their story. Yeah. So we've now done an hour and a half, and we're only on 1970s. So I think there's definitely going to be another episode.
Yeah, and definitely next time we're going to just triple check this slide and make sure there's nothing missing or gone out of order.
I don't know what happened to my slides.
Yeah, there you go. It happened.
We will.
They did. They had more lie detectors later on, and a few years later.
They done several lie detectors.
Again, lie detectors, you can believe them not.
They're not admissible in a court of law.
No, but they're supposed to be fairly accurate, I suppose. But I don't know. All I know is there was a lot of evidence, physical and stuff like that, and I believe him.
We've got a couple of you in the chat. Do you want more UFOs next Tuesday, or do you want a true crime story, which is quite disturbing, and it's got to do with hitchhiking? So don't hitchhike. Let us know. You don't have to decide now. You can put it in the comments when you decide, and we'll have a check.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I mean, that's up to you guys.
Are you bored? Are you bored of it?
Surprise us. Yeah.
I mean, it was supposed to be one episode, then it was going to be two. I mean, look at it. It's just like.
But that's the thing, because you think of the most famous ones, but then you've got all these other little ones what are quite important. and significant, but don't get mentioned so much. So I don't know.
I think we've got UFOs as a winner.
Yeah, we'll just carry on then.
We'll continue, and you can get the true crime. Hopefully the week after, because I don't want to do 5. I'm not doing 5.
No, and we've still got footage to come yet as well. We've got actual UFO.
And we've still got to catch up on the Shag Harbor, which I completely lost my story for.
Yeah.
Danielle wanted to tell you anyway, so it's a good thing because Danielle can tell you.
So that's good.
Hopefully, Danielle's going to be returned from her abduction after 5 days with her clothes on back to front.
Clothes on back. Oh. Yeah. There you go. We'll have to find out what happened if he does.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll probe into that next week.
See, the trouble is, if I got abducted, I'd come back with my clothes on the right way round because I got out with it on back to front. Yeah. And upside down. I've done that before.
Yeah, so that is all from us for this week.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your patience in that little impromptu week we had off because me not feeling very well. We will definitely see you next Tuesday. In the meantime, go and check out our website, thecuriouscasefiles.com. Check out our store, some amazing designs, even if I do say so myself, that were drawn by me, and some equally amazing designs drawn by
me.
We will be back next week with Danielle. See you next Tuesday.
See you Tuesday. Goodbye.
Now I've got to find the end.
Cheerio.
I'm not prepared. I can't open it.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.